Hi, I'm Orbit Dean, and this is my podcast, Discovering Beauty with Orbit Dean. I am a filmmaker and a writer living in Los Angeles, and I also have cerebral palsy, and I'm a wheelchair user. You can continue the conversation after the podcast with us on my Orbit Dean Substack.
Everywhere, everywhere. You are special and I love you everywhere. You are special everywhere. You know it's true.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Discovering Beauty with Orbit Dean. I am Michael, aka Orbit Dean, and today I wanted to talk about caregivers because I've known a lot of them, and it's been an interesting trip dealing with caregivers. As you may know, if you've seen other episodes of this podcast, I've talked at length about the health struggles that I've had to deal with in the last few years, and how much it took me to accept the fact that I need caregiving help in my home. And as I said in the past, I'm recording here from my bedroom, which I didn't initially want to do, but I'm recovering from another injury, so it's just part of life. But I thought today I would talk about all the different and interesting caregivers that I've experienced in my life through different agencies and things. So one of the first caregivers that I had was really odd, and it specifically had difficulty in the kitchen. And multiple times, using things like toaster ovens or microwaves, and come to find out that she set the smoke alarms off and almost burned the house down, and she just wasn't capable in the kitchen. Had some mental problems, some mental difficulties, some mental limitations that I did not know about, because she would go from almost burning my house down to screaming at me that I should be thankful that she's in my house, and most people wouldn't come to help me when I'm in need, instead of being upset because the fire department had to be called. So I quickly learned that this person needed supervision herself. So it became a situation where the agency that sent her to me did not believe that these things were happening, because they thought that I was the one who had sort of a problem with the truth and a problem with my mental stability. Because she would tell them Michael lies and tells lies, and runs around his neighborhood naked. And that's happened to me in the past, but there's been alcohol involved with that. So that's a whole other story that I'll tell on at another occasion. But it quickly became obvious that my caregiver needed supervision. Around the third time that the smoke alarms went off and the fire department needed to be called, I thought, like, oh, okay, you can't be in the kitchen by yourself, and you're regularly going to scream at me at the top of your lungs about how I need to be more appreciative and more thankful for the fact that you're even here. Um, that was a tough situation to get out of, and I had to actually change caregiving companies to get out of that situation. So that was number one. Another time I had a caregiver who fancied herself to be with a young woman who is reasonably attractive, as most young men are, um, and, had a lot of suitors, I suppose. Um, and she fancied herself to be rather an attractive woman. And she made it clear to me. I'm trying to think of the best way to tell this story. And I think in retrospect, this happens to a lot of people who have disabilities. But she made it very clear to me that for an additional out-of-pocket fee, that she could become a companion in the bedroom for me. And she was very much in favor of that, because, and in retrospect, I think, when I've told this story to other people with disabilities, this has also happened to them, because there's a stereotype that, people with disabilities cannot have a love life and a sexual identity unless they either get it out of pity or pay for it. And I suppose there's a whole industry that revolves around that. But my introduction to that was that this person who was here as my caregiver was offering me this service for an additional fee, even to the extent where her husband came to visit me and was in favor of disarrangement. I remember that it was around Christmas time of that year, and he said that that will be our Christmas present to you, is that you can spend some time with my wife in the bedroom, uh, for no additional charge. And that will be our Christmas present to you. And meanwhile, I'm just looking for somebody to make me some scrambled eggs in the morning and make sure that I'm fed and watered and clothed successfully. And then I in no way was interested in having this extracurricular relationship. Um, but again, I think it's a stereotype that most people believe that as people with disabilities, we don't have love lives and sex lives. And I think when I've talked about it publicly in the past, people get upset because I think a lot of people without disabilities are also upset about that notion. So there's sympathy going on and pity going on that we don't need also. But there's also like revulsion. Like we don't want to think about you doing that sort of thing and having that aspect of your life. And to me, that's treating us as less than human, you know, which is the reality of it. And so I have been fortunate enough, I suppose, to have a fairly active love life in my past. And I would like to talk about that because that's a topic that comes up a lot with my students who have disabilities. Like, the number one topic that we talk about is how to have a relationship, a friendship or a romantic relationship or a sexual one if you're ready for that. When I open my students in my teaching sessions up to questions, and I teach about creative writing, but then it becomes like they have questions about life. And depending on what stage of life they're in, it always comes back to personal relationships, friendships, um, romantic relationships, dating, and ultimately sexual relationships and marriage and things like that, if you want to go down that road. I think that's a major issue for people with disabilities and a major taboo, sadly. So one of the things I want to do with the podcast is to be able to talk about that. I would not fancy myself to be any kind of expert, anything regarding disabilities. I think there are people out there that can speak on it better and more deeply and more thoughtfully than I can. What I wanted to do is to share my personal experiences, only limited to what has happened to me in my life. I am in no way an expert on anything. I can just share with you what I've been through. So that's why I'm here. But it was interesting because that caregiver was very much focused on building that extracurricular relationship for a modest fee. And I was basically saying, no, no, I wanted you to scramble my eggs, and that's not a euphemism. I actually wanted you to scramble my eggs, and I had to leave another agency because of that situation. I did not let it be known that the husband visited me prior to Christmas and said that that was going to be my Christmas present. That was one of the more bizarre conversations I've ever had in my life. Let's just say that. And then I've had two or three instances where I've had caregivers come in who are with agencies that have basically extorted me and said, oh, I need money for my car, or I need money for gas, or I need money for, something. And then you start giving them money because, oh, in order for me to get here on time, I need this or I need that. And you're spending, $5 here, $10 there. Or I'm hungry. Can you buy me something to eat? And, before you know it, you've spent thousands of dollars on this person. And that was by design, come to find out. And it's an extortion situation. And again, it's because, as people with disabilities, we're in a vulnerable situation where I need the help so that that person, if that person wants to take advantage of the fact that I need that help, they can. And then before you know it, you've racked up. I've given that person $8,000, or I bought them a new car, or I bought them a house. Or I'm taking care of their dog, or I've moved their furniture into my spare room. All of these things have happened because I am in a position where I need the help. And if people want to take advantage of you, they will. And I've had to learn it the hard way, sadly. And then what happens is that you harden your heart to things, because I used to be the human equivalent of a golden retriever, and now I'm much more of a pit bull with people. I expect the worst now, sadly. Um, but it's so easy to fall into those categories that I discussed of like, oh, this person is a caregiver, but they don't actually know what they're doing, and they have their own issues going on. Maybe they have some mental or physical limitations of their own, and they're not very good at their job. It's really hard to be a good caregiver. It's not an easy job. A lot of people think it's an easy job, but it's not. And it can also happen that you're taking advantage of financially or romantically or both. And I just wanted to talk about that today, I suppose, as a way of, letting it out and sharing it with you all. And I want to hear your stories. And so that's just three off the top of my head, the three majors that I can think of. Oh, and then I had a gentleman who was incredibly abusive to me and would scream at me and tell me that I wasn't worth anything, um, and would hit me with a gate belt. And it took me a long time to get through that one. And I had to report him and move away from the agency that I was with. And I wanted to include that one as well, because I am not a person who is without experience, and I'm not naive about things, but I do sort of lead with my heart, and I do also need help. So I think when you are a person that leads with your heart and you need help, sometimes you can leave yourself open to being abused in many ways, financially, physically, romantically, sexually. And it has all happened to me. There's been a clown car of people that have come through here as caregivers. And I'm very thankful for the ones I have now. And I look back with humor and comedy, I suppose, with the ones that I've had in the past. So just wanted to share that with you and open up a discussion. And I want to hear your stories. And just off the top of my head, that's what I could think of. If there's more, I'll let you know. All right. Thanks for being here in my bedroom with me and sharing this time. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Everywhere, everywhere. You are special, and I love you everywhere. You are special.